Good morning. Happy Monday. Happy Thursday. I don't know why it feels like a Monday. I was off yesterday, so maybe that's why. I can't believe I just thought it was Monday. Hopefully that is not foreshadowing for today's crafty hour. But thank you so much for joining me. This is Stacey. We are going to craft together for an hour, and then Courtney will be hopping on today at 5 p.m. Pacific on the Scrapbook and Memories page, and she will craft with you as well. I know she has some fun stuff up her sleeve. I am just trying to get on the, there we go. Good morning, Debbie. I didn't have you guys pull the laser cuts or anything like that. I wanted to make sure that I communicated this time with Courtney. Last time I kind of went rogue and just made all the decisions myself, and I didn't want to do that this time. So I wanted to ensure that we were communicating with each other this time. So I thought I would have you pull them while we're working today. We are going to do two different, a card and then a little accordion situation here. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But love this kit, love Arden. They always create such beautiful product. And tomorrow we are announcing the new Crafty Hour. Do not miss that at 9 a.m. It is using another Arden line. It is Into the Woods, I believe it's called. Think it's very wicked. So definitely tune in for that. We will have also an exclusive embossing folder, I believe, in that kit, so you don't want to miss it. Hello, everybody. Hello. I hope everyone is doing well. I also have to mention, and I feel terribly about this, I made a boo-boo with the foil that I told you. Wicked Woods. Yes, thank you, Rosie. I made an error with the size of the foil that I told you guys to cut, which isn't a huge deal because you can literally just grab your die and place it in the square that I had you cut. And maybe you didn't even die cut, maybe you just have a piece of foil, but I actually used the die one size down, so it's this size here. So I apologize. I don't ever like to make mistakes. So it's 2.5 by 2.5. I think I said 3.5 or so. So it is a smaller size, so 2.5. But we'll deal with that when we get there. So maybe if you have a moment, you can go ahead and just really quick fix, grab a smaller die cut or just cut it down if you aren't doing a die cut. This is the card here. So we're just seeing a little pretty edge of that. Okay, so not a huge deal, but I apologize for that mistake. Don't know what I was thinking. So it is 10:02. We are going to get started. Now the two laser cuts, I will go through that as well in just a moment. And this is where I had asked you for a couple pieces of chipboard, okay? A couple pieces. Now this is just some card. It's not super heavy. It's some scrap that we have around the store. So you could literally use packaging. You could, if you have some nice chipboard sheets, that works great as well. But I didn't want anyone to have to panic. So just something that is a little more stable than cardstock. And then I had you grab a sheet of cardstock. And what that is for, So the chipboard, just in case you didn't get to homework, or if you're watching on replay, the chipboard is cut to 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Now you could do this with any size. You can make them large or small. I just wanted something, I know I did a class years and years and years, like a whole lifetime ago, and I called it Tiny Treasures because they were tiny, smaller little versions of things. And so this is what we are working with today. You could cut 2 of these if you want it to accordion out much farther, but I thought with our time constraints today, this kind of worked nicely. So I am going to get you to cut your cardstock. Now I used a craft. You could use white, you could use red or green, whatever you would like that goes along with the pattern paper. Now, because these are small little pieces, I am kind of, I'm kind of having to use other patterns, okay? So I want you to grab the piece that looks like this, okay? I'm gonna get you to grab that one. And then I also want you to grab the red one that looks like this. So it has this print on one side and this one on the other. Okay, so I'm going to get you to grab those 2 and then we'll worry about the insides in a little bit. So those are the 2 patterns. I'm going to get you to grab those and have those on hand. And then the cardstock. So I'm going to have you, if you're following along with me, maybe you want double the accordion length. But if you're following along with me, I'm going to get you to grab your cardstock and cut it to 3 by 12. So we want a piece that is 3 inches by 12. I'm going to get you to do that. And then again, if you are just kind of gathering up everything and following along, these chipboard little squares are 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. And I'm going to get you to cut 2 of those, okay? Times 2. So 2 of those. And then we have our cardstock. I haven't done any inking or anything, so I'm not, if you after the fact want to worry about that, absolutely. And then scoring. So we're going to score at 3 inches. So how I usually just do that, I don't know if this is visible on screen here. So I've got my 3 by 12. And I'm going to score at 3 inches, and then I just move it up. And do it again, and just keep going, okay? So 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, that gives us our little accordion. And then we will start covering our little covers, or our little, the back and the front of the little book. We'll start with that. Now, something else to think about. Something else to think about is how we are going to close this. So of course, if we change things up a little bit, you could have something and just, you know, wrap it around, tie it in a bow. So that's why I didn't add ribbon here. We could definitely do that. Another closure, you could have paper and a little magnet or something like that. There's always lots of different options. But I thought I'm going to use, I love the little twine. So that is what I'm going to use. And just keep your ribbon If you had a sheer ribbon, that would be really pretty. I know we have little little rolls of really sweet little, it's like a knitted crocheted ribbon. There's little pom-pom ribbons. You could do all sorts of different things. Of course, just make sure it kind of coordinates with our pattern paper. But this is what I'm going to use. I just want us to have it out so we don't forget, because it's easy to forget to do that part. So just have whatever ribbon or twine, whatever you're going to use, just set it aside for now. And so we are going to work on the front of our little book, okay? So again, I am going to be working with a different piece, but I want you to work with this just because if you're following along with Courtney, I don't want to steal any of her paper. But I mean, it all works, right? It all works. So I'm using this one here. And so we need to cover this guy. And how I'm going to do it, I'm not going to be too particular. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. So if we look at how much paper we kind of want, so I'm going to cut it at about, so I have a 5-inch piece. So 5 inches to work with. And I am going to use my double-sided tape because I want good, I want to be certain that nothing's going to fall apart. So I'm going to use my double-sided tape. And I'm going to see if I can work with my Band-Aid here. Of course, I had a little run-in with a pen right before I had to be on here. So I am, because I don't really care, I'm covering it all up. I'm putting my double-sided tape, my sukweing, on one side. And so this is my pattern that I want on the outside. So I am just going to kind of center that, just like that. And I've probably given myself more than I need. So I'm actually just going to trim this a little bit. So I have it down so it's looking like that. And maybe you want something like this. I'm not being too particular. You could grab your scoring trimmer, you know, your trimmer with your scoring blade. I just kind of want to help the paper a little bit. So I'm just taking a bone folder and going around like that. And I'm just going to, this is perfect paper because it's not, you do want to be careful. I think I might have been a little aggressive there because you can see, if you see the white core in there, you can just grab some ink and kind of ink around. But it is a nice weight. It's not too heavy. And then I am actually just going to trim away some excess here. You kind of see there's a square here. That's where I'm kind of going through that square. I just want to trim away some of that excess paper. There's a million different ways to deal with this. But I am going to then put my double-sided tape on the paper, and we are going to flip and tape that down. So just peeling off my, and really whatever adhesive you want to use is okay. But I like the double-sided tape. And then I am going to do the same on the other side. You could use your liquid glue, whatever you like. And we're going to, our goal is just to cover our little squares. And I'm gonna just trim that. I wasn't quite, and trim as you need it. I wasn't quite aggressive enough with my trimming there. So we just want it to look like something like this, okay? And we are going to go ahead and finish this up. And again, you can use whatever paper you like. This is just what I selected. I know there's quite a bit of paper to work with. And again, I'm gonna trim that down a little bit. And give it a little haircut. Okay, almost done the one side. And if you didn't want to cover these with paper, you could paint them if you wanted. I think in that case you would want to use proper, nice chipboard. And so you have an ugly little bit here if you wanted to. If you wanted to have some more pattern there, but we really don't need to worry about it. But I mean, you could do another pattern there. That would be kind of cute. But I'm not doing that this time because my little book, or the little pages, it's going to kind of go like that. So we get to cover the ugly little bit. Now, we need to remember our friend twine or ribbon. So this is where I like to hide my twine or my ribbon, keeping in mind that we're gonna work on this side. So this is what it's going to look like. We want to have something that we can eventually tie together. So what I am going to do, I am going to take one end of my twine, and you can kind of envision how much we need, right? I think I said 10 to 12 inches. You probably have, if you're like me, you probably have a lot. A lot of different options, right? So I really just want to make sure this isn't going anywhere. So I am being very cautious, and I'm just going to make sure that this guy isn't going anywhere. I'm also going to just remove the backing. You don't have to, but we might as well get use out of this double-sided tape, right? And then I have my cardstock. I'm gonna move that just up like that. And I am not going to assume that that's enough adhesive. So I am going to help it out a little bit with some more. And I know I said I worried about the cover attaching. This is really where we want to make sure to kind of go overboard with our adhesive, because nothing would be more awkward. You give this to someone and they're opening it and it falls apart. So we want to, probably could have used a wider sequin tape, but this is the one that I brought. So next I'm going to attach this. I'm going to do my very best to kind of center this just like that. And we have the front of our little book, and dang nabbit, I did it on the wrong side. I thought I did. I am so sorry. That needs to go there. Oh dear. I apologize. So I'm going to be sneaky. Hopefully you did not do what I did, but I think I'm all good. That is not going to go anywhere. That is what we need. I am so sorry. So when you have it like so, we want it like that. So sorry about that, my friends. So that is what we're dealing with. So when we open it, looks like this. And I've got my twine, which I gave myself a lot to play with. Looks like that, okay? And then we are going to do the next piece of the chipboard, and that is going to be right under here, okay? I probably pulled that up a little bit, but that is okay. Okay. Let's move this up like this, and I'm just going to leave that really long there. And now we have our other piece of paper. And I'm just reminding you, you are going to be working with this piece right here. Do not follow me along because I am working with a different piece of paper, okay? I'm going to be working with this one, but I want you to work with this one, okay? And that is why, again, I tried to make this on the smaller side just because I knew we were going to be working with less paper than a 12 by 12 sheet. Yes, thank you, Kelly. Okay, so let's do the same thing. Again, you will be working with this sheet that has the newsprinty pattern on the front on one side and then the red on the other, okay? And again, we are taking our double-sided tape, Now a lot of people use tweezers. I don't I don't know. I can't get the hang of doing that. So I'm not worried. I'm not going to cut this time. I'm just going to place it on here. And just want to have enough to go around the paper. I'm going to snip that a little bit there. And again, I'm not going too wild here, just helping it a little bit. And I'm going to fold that around. And I am going to snip. I want to get rid of that excess there. And there's several different ways to miter a corner. Many different ways, and there's lots of tools out there that help you do that as well. I think We Are Makers has one, kind of a book making tool. So there are many different ways to go about doing that for sure. And I'm just doing a couple different options. So you can cut out that little square and basically because we're not seeing it, right? So it doesn't really matter how you go about removing that excess, does it? If we were seeing it, it's kind of like wrapping a Christmas present. Depends on how you're doing it, how ugly it can be underneath. So there's a few different ways to go about. I hate the saying about skinning the cat, but you get my drift. So I'm just gonna get all my edges. This looks like it works. And then we can go and attach the rest of those down. And you could do this if you were wanting it to be like a little gift. You could make it large enough. I don't think it's quite large enough to have little gift cards. Or maybe you give cash to somebody. I know in our family, the young people seem to just prefer the cash. So you could definitely make little pockets and tuck some money. This would be really cute if someone was going on a trip and maybe Christmas was happening at the right time. You could make like a little travel themed and have some cash in there. Be really cute. So definitely it's the same whether you're doing your covers 5x5, 6x6. We could definitely go even smaller. All depends. So then this is going to, and I have some script there to be careful of. So this is going to go right in the center like that, okay? And I am going to get my twine. And this is the twine that I'm using. We have a bit of it left. It's from Spellbinders. It's from Vivant. And yeah, it works really well. And I love it because It's definitely seems like Christmas. It could be anything. And you could also ink this. You could, you know, if you wanted it to be a little more distressed, you could definitely ink it up. I just want to kind of see where my other twine is in relation. It's kind of at the center point there. So I'm just going to do it kind of like that. And maybe you're using some ribbon. That would be really pretty as well. Well, lots of different options. Okay. And I'm going to put my double-sided tape right on there. I'm not going to worry about peeling that one. I seem to be struggling with the peeling with my Band-Aid, so I'm not going to torture you with that. Okay. And you could also do a little belly band. That would be really cute. Maybe if you're doing a belly band, you could decorate the belly band instead of the front of the front of the book. And I'm gonna smush that down. Crackle, crackle, crackle. Okay. So I've got oodles of twine. I'm just gonna snip that off. And that gives me, I think, lots of, there are people, my mother-in-law is one, who can do beautiful bows. I'm not really going to worry about how beautiful my bow is. But if you've got ribbon, maybe give yourself a little extra to play with, just because you might want it to be big and beautiful. Okay, so we have created our little book. And like I said, maybe you have added a couple strips of cardstock, so yours pulls out a lot longer than mine. I went with these options for the front of my book. And just because we're dealing with kind of a one of each situation, I have had to pull slightly different options just because I don't want to eat into what Courtney will be crafting with. So in my sample book, it's going to look a little bit different. But I want you to grab, there are 2 of these trees. So mine's going to be little, but I want you to grab the big guy. So there is a big guy. Let me see here. So I want you to grab the big guy here. And so if you're looking at the 2 different sheets of laser cuts, I want you to grab that big tree. And then I want you to go on the other page and grab, there's a little pine cone situation. Looks kind of like this. I want you to grab that. It's a larger one, so grab that for me. And then I need you to grab this, I wish I was more of a garden person. I think it's like holly. I want you to grab those, and we're not gonna need them for this card, but when we're rummaging around, we might as well. So grab this one and this branch as well and set that aside, okay? We're gonna set those 2 aside for the card. But for our little book, I want you to have the bigger tree, and I want you to have that little pine cone and berries. And then also, while we're pulling here, I am going to have you grab, I need you to grab a tag. I want you to grab this green one, okay? And for my sample, I'm gonna be working with this one, but I know Courtney's using that. So I want us to grab this green tag. And then while we're at it, I want you to grab the star. Sorry, Kelly, if I did, I want you to grab the larger one. If that was an error, I do want you to grab the larger tree. I'm going to be using the smaller one, but I'd like you to use the larger one, okay? And then I want you to grab one of these ornaments. And like I said here, the little, looks like a little wooden star. And one of the red stamps. Okay, we're going to be using that on the card. And one of these little clipboard doodads. I am going to use the More Merry. We're going to be using that in this little book. Grab one of the little heart buttons that we're going to be using on the card. I used the, you could use whichever one you like. Whatever you think looks best at the top of the tree, that works. For my project today, I'm using this one here. So whatever works, whatever you like best at the top of that tree. And then if you could also grab a little post box, okay? One of the little post box, that is also for the cards. And that's all we're gonna worry about right at this moment, okay? That's all we're gonna worry about at this time. And just reminding you what I'm using is different than what I want you to use, okay? So I have on the front of my original sample here, I have that large tree and I have popped it up. And if you want to grab Christmas wishes, and we are just going to foam tape that on the front of the card, okay? So I just want you to grab some foam tape. I'm just using my foam strips. And it's lovely that these are double-sided, the laser cuts, because sometimes that is really helpful. You don't have to worry about it this time, but it is kind of nice to have that option. And so I'm just going to kind of center this in there. And then again, just a reminder, I have the larger tree, Christmas wishes, and then the red star at the top. For my sample, I'm going to be using a different color star. I guess I could color it another color if I really wanted to. And for decoration, just because we don't have a lot of time, I am going to do that kind of more at the end. I didn't do too much inside the book just because I know we don't have a lot of time. And so I'm going to leave that up to you. You will have lots of extras to work with, that is for sure. So I purposely used kind of a larger sentiment here. I just wanted to cover the tag that was there. And I am going to use a piece of foam and just pop that up always like the different, all the dimension. And so I just have my foam kind of running along the front. I didn't go over the edge there. So I'll talk about maybe ways we can make that sparkly and at the end here. And I'm not going to have you worry about this right now, but I thought we could, one option for this, you could put little photos there, maybe something for grandma and grandpa, aunts and uncles, be kind of cute to have there. So on the inside, what I am actually going to be using, and I have it here, is this one here. Okay, so this is one of those borders. And I am going to, we're just going to cut it to work for our project. So I'm not going to give you any measurements. I just want you to kind of eyeball and see how that fits in there. So for me, I'm going to snip that because I don't want to lose those lovely scallops. So I'm going to snip it. And I'm just going to make those edges both square. And it's just like a little border, okay? So that is going to go right like that. I am going to take my foam strips and just run that. And I'm putting my foam kind of towards the side away from my scallops, because if you do decide to put a little photo mat there, you can tuck that right under that. But I'm gonna leave that up to you. I'm not worried about cutting that right now. And okay, so we are going to grab some of the pattern paper, and I have just enough. So I want you to grab a piece like that, okay? And we are going to cut that to fit kind of right in the center, of our little page there. My goodness. Got little bits of garbage everywhere. So if you cut that pattern paper to measure, we just want it to go right in the center, just like a little mat in there. So 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, somewhere around there. And I have just enough. So something just like that. I love that pattern. It's very fun. I am actually going to use my liquid glue. And so I've just done a couple little embellishments here. Most certainly, you've got lots to work with. You can embellish or go a different way if you want. I'm just going to glue that right in the center. And then again, just a reminder, use this green tag. And I'm going to get you to use the little clipboard that I mentioned earlier. It actually probably doesn't, if you flip it over, but I like we're gonna use this one. You can flip it over and just have it blank, but I think I might do it this way. Always like to switch it up. And again, use your green one. Courtney says she's gonna be using this one, but just for me, I'm gonna use, it's a lovely tag. And I didn't pop the tag up. I tend to pop everything up. That's something to think about when you're doing accordions, I have discovered over the years. Yeah, sometimes you get a little crazy with your embellishing and your height and dimension, and it becomes really hard to close your little book. So that is always something to think about. And also to think about evening out your dimension. I find that's something we don't think about sometimes. And what I actually did was the little hole in the little tag, I put it right over the little hole on. Yes, Sharon, the big tree is in the laser cuts. I'm just using the little wee one for my sample I'm doing. And then I use the Making More Merry just to put under that little clipboard. Okay. And I did pop that up. And I can also, I'll go through and I'll post, for those that aren't watching live, I will post, I'll confirm all the die cuts just so you have, just because I was holding it, I'll do a little image and have them there for you, just for those that aren't watching live. So you should have another little piece of your scallop. And that one's gonna go right there. So again, snip. Sharon, we'll have to talk after, but these are the 2 sheets that you hopefully have. And there's the big guy, but I will discuss after if you still can't find it. And oh, I've done so well. I lost my scissors. And again, just snipping. I'm gonna let you be the captain, and you just snip whatever works for you to fit your little doodad on your page. So just like that, and then we'll take another foam strip and we'll just, no worries, we'll get you sorted out. Like that. My dear, I'm running out of time. Not used to these hours. Okay. So that's what we have so far. And again, we're not going to worry about these white squares. 1, 2, 3. And then we have that last one. So I use this piece. It looks like that. I'm going to use that side. I'll leave that up to you. But again, I'm going to cut it so it measures the same as the other little square. Essentially, we're just making a little mat. A wee little mat. And I'm going to use my liquid glue. I never use liquid glue, but, or I shouldn't say never. I'm not a liquid glue crafter. I use it when I have to. Okay, so that is kind of our little page there. And then I am going to get you to grab, you grabbed that larger, see my wee little one? I want you to grab that larger one. And we're just gonna kind of pop it up in the corner there, okay? Pop it up in the corner there. And we'll grab our little ornament. And there's lots of little options for you to embellish with glitter, with stickles, with glittery pastes. I always love the brush pens, the glitter brush pens. We just got in a bunch from Uniquely Creative. I don't know what we have left over. We sold a lot of those, but they are just so great to just add a little bit of shimmer. So tucked into the branches there, I want you to put a little ball. That's the one, the little ornament that I had. Just so it kind of looks, and mine is larger in my original sample. I'm just using a wee little one. So it kind of looks like it's dangling off the little branch, okay? I struggled at first with that because I am like, oh, but I think it looks realistic enough. And if you have that Oh What Fun from the little sentiment sheets, I'm gonna get you to grab one of these. I used Oh What Fun. And that is just going to pop up kind of at the bottom of your page, okay? Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. I really appreciate it. And putting up with my few little blunders. Okay, so we've got Holly Jolly, but I used the Oh What Fun. So there we have, so that is all decorated. I didn't do the back two because time, but you could definitely continue on there. If you are putting photos, might be nice to have two photos here, have a little photo mat. You could put a couple little popped up little doodads maybe. So that is there, and I didn't put ribbon on this one. You could wrap it around, you could do a belly band, but with this one, I have my twine, and you can seal that up as well, okay? Now, talking about embellishing, I am not going to really do much of it, but like I said, aqua pens, that's what this one has here, definitely works well. Something that I would definitely think would be really beautiful. So if you take the texture paste and there is sparkle from Tim Holtz, I would like to see putting a little dollop here and there, and then I would go a little bit further and sprinkle some of my glitter that I might have at home and just sprinkle that on. It will stick into the paste. I think that would be really cute. I think that would be really nice. But many different ways. You could also add some, I really like to use my glitter with glossy accents. So you go in, add your glossy accents, which acts as a glue, and then putting that glitter over top, it dries, it encases that glitter, and it's really pretty. So that is what I would do. And there are also options in here, like I would add a little bit of sparkle to your pine cones, maybe a little bit on the little ornament, but I would do that for sure. Okay. So that is that. And then we're going to make a quick card. We're going to make a quick card. And this is what we have right here. So I'm just gonna see what I can do in 7-ish minutes. So this is the die that I use to cut my little square. And if you're just tuning in, I know in the homework, I told you to use a larger die, but I actually used this one. I think I originally had said to use that one, but yeah, I apologize. So it's actually 2.5 by 2.5, and that's an easy fix. So if you have your larger square, just die cut out of the center of that. We're not seeing too much. You don't even have to die cut if you don't want to. Again, I'm doing my very best with the scraps that I have. And so that is the card base that I had you cut. The paper that I want you to use, you'll find this green script, has red on one side. I utilize the green. So we have that green script. And then we have this one that has the red and the holly on one side and those green polka dots. And I know I'm using it this way. I don't really care. I don't think it looks bad. And then this one. I just wanted to have a few different patterns on there, and so that is what I went with. And then I'm going to go through the die cuts. Now, I'm going to show you using my card sample, and then we've also got, I told you earlier, so you might have pulled it, we've got this kind of holly leaf. And then we've got this berry. It's like a leafy with the red berries. Then I want you to go into the sentiments. So the sentiments, they look like little type strips. I'm gonna have you do that, and just like that. Okay, and then I want you to grab the little joy. I'm going to be using Believe, but the little joy works really well. And then in the sheet, it has the 25, which I know Courtney's using. It has some ornaments. I want you to grab, see the little, it's like a little rectangle tag label. Grab the red one, the one with the little red at the top. I want you to grab that. We are going to use that there. And then I believe I told you already to pull a red postage stamp. And I want you to pull, and I think you did already, the little post box. Okay. And then I'm going to get you to go onto this page here. I'm going to get you to grab that little tree. So it's like a little round image. I want you to grab the one with the tree, okay? So I'm going to get you to grab those, and I think that will take care of everything. And while you are pulling those bits and bobs, and keep in mind, I have to utilize other, but I'll keep showing you that original sample. Just so I'm not confusing the dickens out of you. And I think I also had you grab one of the little hearts. Looks like a little button. So cute. And I am going to, these are the measurements for the pattern paper. So this is the green text. I'm calling this the aqua pattern. And I'm calling this the red holly. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and cut these dimensions. 2 3/4. So I'm going to cut 2 3/4. And so my little piece of foil just reveals a little bit of text right around the edges. So that's what I want with that. And then also, and if you want to flip it over and use the red, I also want us to cut just enough to fit inside your die cut. So I don't know exactly if you're going with me, but whatever it takes just to fill up that die cut for you. I think that works for me, just a little over 2. So whatever, maybe you've cut a slightly different size, but I just want a little, just something like that looks like that. So that is that. And then we have our aqua. And I am cutting it this way. And I don't care because I'm not seeing, I'm barely seeing it. I know I kind of freaked out a little bit. I'm like, oh, I won't have enough. But that's how I did it. You don't waste as much paper. So I'll leave that up to you. You're working with the luxury of a full sheet of paper. Oops. 4 1/4, Stacey. You just want that to sit in the center, so 4 inches, most likely. And we are going to attach this to the front of our card. So right in the center, just giving us a little frame. So just like that. And I am doing the first 2 layers flat. So they are just getting attached right on the center. I am so very sorry. I think I got that wrong as well. Whatever you have to do to have it fit on the front of your card. Assuming we're all making the same size card. So that fits in there. And again, I'm just gluing that smack dab on top of each other, these 2 patterns. You could pop this up if you want, but I didn't really see the point. I've got my dimension happening with my little square. And so I have my little green, the larger little square, and then I am going to take that and I'm going to pop that up into the center of that green square. Okay. So that is going to, this is my little foil die cut piece. Doesn't have to be die cut. If you just want a straight edge, that works as well. So I'm just popping that up like that. And then I'm attaching this flat. And you could do red. I kind of like the green. It's such a lovely shade of green. So that is going to go right in the center. Right in the center of that foil. Make sure that your printing is in the right direction. Goodness, I know I've done that enough over my crafting life. Okay. So now it's just a matter of, we're going to attach this, center that as best we can. I'm actually going to pop this up. I'm going to pop it up because I want to tuck underneath it. So I'm not going to go right to the bottom with my foam tape because sometimes that impedes my tucking ability. So I'm going to take this little square that we've created with the foil and that green. Just like that, center it as best you can. Boop, that is in there. So now we are going to attach all our little extras here. So this won't take us very long. We're going to place that like that. So that is, you've got a larger one. And I am going to put little pieces. You don't have to, but I wanted the dimension because I'm kind of crazy. I cut little pieces of my foam tape and put it on my leaves. And I think that gives us enough stability and it gives us that little bit of dimension. I'm not going to put foam on those top two leaves just because that's going to be dangling over the edge and I don't like to do that because then you have to double it up and blah blah blah. So I went, now you've got the bigger one. So your top two leaves will kind of hang over and I have that little stem right at the bottom, okay? So that looks like that. And then I want you to take Merry Christmas. And Merry Christmas, I put a little bit of foam tape on there and that's going to just go just like my Christmas wishes. and it's going to dangle over the edge of my card just a little bit. Okay, just a little bit, and that is going, so it looks like it's kind of hanging or imprinting, holding down that stem of the flower. And then I've got that cute little heart. And I'm just going to place it just kind of at the corner of my little Merry Christmas strip. Okay. So again, it's just like a little accessory at the edge like that. Now I would like you to grab, and again, I have to use a different one. So you should have this one. It has beautiful big leaves. It's like a holly, I think it is. Looks similar to this one. I want you to cut that a little bit. Cut it so you have be easier to show you. So see those bottom two little leaves there? I want you to cut, just snip the little branch. Snip the little branch so you have those two little leaves at the bottom. And then see that leaf, it's off on its own. I want you to snip that off. So just cut around it, because what I'm going to have you do is have the two leaves here, and then tuck the single one so it looks like you have 3 leaves. And you're going to pop that up so it's hanging right out under our little square there. Okay, does that make sense? So we've got the 2 and the 1, and it looks like it's 3. So I'm going to work with what I have here. And it's just a way to add a little fullness, little extra, filling up that blank space there a little bit. So I'm just going to tuck that under. And then I'm going to cut off a single one. Mine will look a little bit different, but that's okay. And this is where I always thank the crafting heavens for foam strips. So I'm going to tuck this one. I'm going to do a little bit different. Mine looks not as nice. So we have that at the bottom. And then if you can just cut off, you could use whatever you have left. I just want you to tuck it so it comes out. See your top 2 leaves there? Just so it comes and fills in that space. I didn't like that being blank, and I didn't want to add anything else into there. So we are going to fill that up with some greenery. So whatever leaf you have left from that holly laser cut. So it's just filling up that little gap there. Then I want us to take the little post box. Looks like a little birdhouse. But the little post box. And we are going to tuck it. So I'm going to have you grab your strip and just put your adhesive on your house And I want us to kind of, and I'll leave it up to you whether you feel like you have to double it up. I didn't worry about it. So we have the little post of the mailbox. It's just tucked under that greenery, and then the box itself is on the front of your card there, okay? And then it becomes a matter of filling in this little extra space here, okay? So you should have one of these that has red at the top, not green. We're gonna have to snip it, but I just want you to see it's going to go right under. So do what you have to snip. We just want it, and we're gonna pop it up, but we just want it to sit like that. So just like that. But I am going to pop it up with a foam strip. We're almost done. Almost done. Okay. So just like that. That should be tucked under a little bit more, but you get the gist. So just like that. And then we're going to take that little stamp. We're gonna stuff it like that, okay? I'm just going to put a little dab of glue on the back of that and tuck it under like that. I have it kind of askew a little bit. Now I selected Joy, the little type comes from this sheet here, right in the corner there. I selected Joy because it fit really nicely in there. So that's what I want you to do. Just maybe you have to snip it a little bit, but I don't think you should. Should fit in there. You can tuck it under that stamp if you want. Okay. I'm going to use Believe. And it just fits right in there, right on that little red. Just like that. Kind of fits really nicely in there. And last, I felt like it was still unfinished, so I'm going to be using the little bow, but if you want to grab that little tree, I like that little tree, and I just snipped the bottom off my circle a little bit, and then it's going to pop up right at the bottom. I am so sorry for running over. I don't know if I'm going to be welcome back. I seem to be a little bit of trouble here on these crafty hours. Okay. So little tree at the top there, and that is done. Done, done, done. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will I won't get it done today, but I will tonight. I will go through and put up a pic with the die cuts that I used in an image, just for those of you that are doing it on replay. I think it might be a little bit easier. And then don't forget, Courtney is at 5 Pacific. She will have a couple projects for you as well. And don't forget, tomorrow at 9 is the reveal of the next Crafty Hour. We've told you it's Halloween. I know Joe's gonna do it, I believe. And it's a lovely kit. It is the Into the Woods with Arden, and you get an exclusive embossing folder. So can't wait to see what you guys make with that. Thank you for joining me. Apologies for running over, and thank you. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh, and also on replay on our YouTube. Thank you.